Psychiatrist told me to write about my traumatizing experience as a child, so here it is. He turned and left the house walking towards this unknown girl. I positioned myself back in front of the window to see what was happening, and all I could make out was the silhouettes their bodies made in the setting sun. They talked for a matter of seconds when my dad turned towards me and began to sprint. He ran like someone who knew there was little hope left. He ran like a man believing it was the end. He slammed open the door, and shut it just as quickly, commanding me to call the cops. I used his cell phone and called 911, giving them the best instructions I could on how to get to our location. As soon as I hung up, there was a subtle knock on the door. My father pressed his body up to the door as to try and keep whoever was knocking out. It was the girl. She knocked and then said in a cute innocent voice, "We're gonna get you, na 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 boo boo." I was horrified. My father was looking straight at the door screaming, "Go away," as powerfully as he could. My father and I make eye contact and he gives me a look of sheer horror. It was one that said, "I'm sorry and I love you all," at the same time, with no hope in his eyes. It was silent. My dad was still pressed up against the door in sheer terror, and I was too scared to ask my dad what went on out there. The next thing I know, I hear scratching. It wasn't something similar to a mouse scratching on the wall, it was closer to bear clawing at its prey. This girl outside began to scratch at the door in a more intense way than any human could. The door began to give way, while my dad began pressing harder and harder to try and resist her. After about 15 seconds, the door snapped. I saw this 8-year-old girl run in on all fours, like a fucking animal. She ran in and began to attack my father. My dad, a fully grown 40-year-old man, fought back, but was simply getting overpowered by this 8-year-old. After a 10-second struggle, she grabbed him by the throat and dragged his half-conscious, but still squirming body out of the house. All the while I was too paralyzed with fear to help him. As this girl was dragging him helplessly into the woods, he began to scream, "Run, son, run." There was no way I could even move, much less run. The last time I saw my father, he was being dragged into the woods, and when I lost sight of him he began screaming in horrible pain. He was screaming bloody murder as I could hear his vocal cords giving way. I passed out, and the next thing I knew, I was in Grady Hospital being asked where my father was and what happened. Every night I look outside my apartment in fear of seeing her, and every night I dream of her. It is only a matter of time.